Alright, it's time to put this thing back together. So, I just took apart this differential really quick, and I noticed one that the screws are a little bit loose. So, I got some Loctite, and I just want to make sure that this does not fall apart whenever I'm driving. So, I use Loctite 242. It's the blue stuff, and it doesn't take much, but I'm always prone to get a little bit on the screws, a little bit too much on the screws, so I usually keep a shirt with me and just a basic rag, and then we're gonna put a little bit of Loctite up on it and then put this back together. So it just goes like this. So here's the flat, goes back right on like that, and then we're going to take a little bit of this Loctite and I'm going to hit that screw just a little bit too much. I'm just going to dab that on the shirt really quick. That's about where you want it, right there. So I'm going to do 4 screws like that, and I'll be right back. Alright, we're back. So I just got done Loctiting these screws on my Diff, and the reason why I use Loctite is because, especially when you're dealing with aluminum to aluminum parts, the screws like to back out. So always use Loctite. Now, not too much Loctite, and this is the only Loctite I personally use. It's the 242 thread locker. It's the blue stuff. You'll still be able to take out all your screws without issues. So this is the only stuff I use. And then we're going to start putting them back together. So I need this half, and then I need this half right here. So, and before we get any farther, what I like to do on my Diff housings is grease them up and add a little bit of grease, not too much. I've seen some where people like to fill them up. I personally don't like to fill them up all the way. I like to put a decent amount in, and so what I use is marine grease. And marine grease is great because it keeps the water out. I don't want any of my shafts to rust up because these are steel, and we don't want any kind of rust because that'll cause issues. And especially my bearings too. I don't want my bearings to rust. So this marine grease is great, and it's blue. So I use a brush, and what I'll do is I'll take it, and I like to take the initial amount of grease and really get in there in all the creases, in all the creases and all the cracks in there. Really get in there and add my grease, because that'll make it nice and watertight, and that's what I want. And then I'll coat all the parts in marine grease, and we'll go from there. So what I'm doing, so it is a little messy, I ain't gonna lie, it's a little bit messy, but you get in there and just keep adding grease. Now I do like, yes, it's only get messy like I said, but you want to get up on the edges, you know what I mean? So when you shut this case, it's going to press up against that grease and make a seal, and that's what you want. And then after I got all this coated, I'll actually start filling it up with some grease. Now, like I said, I don't fill it up all the way. People like to fill them up. Everybody has their preference. My preference is I don't fill them up all the way. So there it is. I'm going to get the other one done, and then we'll go from there. So see you in a second. Alright, now we're back, and I just want to show you this again. So I got the marine grease all coated on the insides. You can see that. And I want it on the edges. Now this is when we're starting to get really dirty. So, like I said, make sure you have your shirt, your dirty shirt there. And we're going to start taking my marine grease and we're going to start packing this in. So, but first what I'm going to do, I'm going to marine grease my Diff really quick. So So what I like to do, I like to get a nice thing of marine grease and just slather that on. I like to get it on everything. And then now I'm going to put my diff in there. I'm going to give this a quick spin. This is set it in there. Now, the fun part begins where we're going to start packing this in a little bit. So we're going to take some more marine grease. And we're going to start adding it. Now, you guys can do whatever you want. I've seen it where you just coat the insides and you're done. I like to add just a little bit more. I've seen people fill it up all the way. And I personally don't like that. But what I like to do, I like to take this half right here and fill it up quite a bit. Alright. Slather that bad boy up. Alright. So, nice and messy, right? Alright, so we got that one. Now what I like to do with this one, you know what we forgot? We forgot to put the bearings back in it. Son of a gun. So, let's go ahead and grab our bearings. And I'm going to lather up my bearing right here. I want to lather this up pretty good. You know, I want to coat it. And the reason why I want to coat it, I don't want any kind of rust. So I'm going to get more messy again. Put that bearing right on there. Should slide right on. Put that back for a second. Add some more marine grease to this other bearing. And we're going to pull this out again. It's going to be messy. And we're going to slide that back on. So we got the two bearings on each side of this diff. We're going to slide this back in there. Give this thing a quick spin, and what the spin does, it sets that gear in. Set your pinion. So I'll take a quick spin. Should be nice and smooth. Alright, we're good. Now what I like to do, I'm going to fill up this other dip. I ain't going to fill it up too much. I'm just going to give it a little bit on each side and inside that diff housing right in there. So I'm just going to kind of go in there and just kind of hit it really quick. So I'm kind of filling this up like, I don't know, like 60%. And that's about the butter zone for me. So we're going to hit this side really quick. It's okay if it goes on the outside a little bit. It ain't going to kill anything. It might just make you a little bit messy. But it's going to give us a good seal by the time we're done, and we'll just wipe this all down. Now it's time for the drive shafts. And I know we coated this, but I want to give a light coating on everything, even the bearings and everything like that. And I know this seems like a little bit overkill, but when you're going through water and you're going through, I mean, everything, it's only to start getting wet. And where I live, we have a lot of mineral content in our water. And whenever you get that mineral content in there, it will start to rust everything. So what I'm doing, I'm setting this drive shaft inside and I'm spinning it around and it'll seat itself in there. Alright, I'm back. So I found out that I actually got the drive shaft switched around, so I had to spin them around. So I put the wrong drive shaft on the wrong side because they're actually two different sizes. But I got them in there right. And this is what it's supposed to look like. I'll give you a quick look. So your bearing should be sitting right on the sides like that. And that's the way it should look right there. So when you spin, a little greasy. That's the way it should look. Now we're ready to shut this diff case in. So here, you just set that in there. Now, here's the nice part. So remember when I talked about you want it on the edges? See how that there's grease coming out the edges? That's what you want. That's how you get a nice tight seal on each side. See that? That's what you want. And I like to kind of push it back in just a hair and kind of get it all messy on the sides. And then after we're done, after we get all this buttoned up, we're going to clean it up, and then we won't have any grease on the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt this back up really quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, y'all. So we got our bolts in. So it's 4 bolts right here. You got your 2 longer ones right here that go around the top, so your diff's on sit technically like this on the truck right now, if you're on to look at it from the front, because I'm working on the front whole entire axle and drive shaft right here. So your diff is right inside, and you got your 2 long bolts right here, and this is where your links start going in for the center links. And then you got your 2 shorter bolts right here, and there's 2 nuts. Make sure you don't lose those. Those 2 nuts are right there. Yep, right there. So I went ahead and already cleaned up this whole entire axle of grease on the outside. I should have a nice good seal on it now, so I don't think any kind of water is going to go in there. And now we're going to put on my servo plate. Alright, so we got our servo plate on. Just like that. It's just 3 screws that go right on the top. So now we're getting ready to put on these bad boys. And those take 2 screws a piece. So on these, all you do, line it up and just slide them on. Just like that. 1 on each side. And then those get 2 bolts apiece. Alright, now we're going to move on to putting the rest of it together. We're going to put on the rest of our steering linkage, and then we'll be good to go. So all you do is line them all up. Just like that. Slide her in. Let's get the other side in. Maybe. There you go. And that's all gravy from there, and then you just 2 screws on each side and you're good to go. One thing to make sure, I just want to make sure y'all know, the bearings like to pop out of these damn things, so you got to push these in, make sure they're in. But now that we think about it, we're going to hit these with just a little bit of grease on each side, not too much. Because these are going to be a little bit exposed to the helmet. So we're just going to put a little bit of grease on each side, and that way they don't get rusty on us. And when we're done with that, we'll try to get this thing finished up. Alright, we got our steering linkage on, and now we're just going to install our hexes right here. And we can't forget our pins. And then once we get those in, so there's one of the pins right there. I gotta get this other one out. There we go. And there's your other pin. So, pins, all you do around the shaft is slide that in to where it's center. Take your hex, slide that in. Rest is history. And you just do the exact same thing on the other side. Looks like we're ready to go. Put it back onto the truck. So I've already shown you all how to take this piece, take it off, the exact same thing. You just reverse it, put it back on, and then what I'll do before I even take this other one out, this other one that's right there, I gotta still do this diff. I'm gonna go ahead and test it, and the reason why I do it, make sure everything's right. I know it is, but I'm pretty much a perfectionist, so it feels pretty darn good to me. And then after I'm done with that, I'm going to take this one off, do that one. I'm going to do that one off camera. And then we're going to test it again, make sure everything works, and we're done.